Hey guys, Pico here with Matt, the creative director for Planetside 2. I saw this nice, awesome demo at GDC just a couple months ago, and we're reconnecting. Can you just talk about the basics?
Well, Planetside 2 is a massively multiplayer first-person shooter game. It's a game where thousands of players can compete with one another in these enormous battles taking place with ground vehicles, air vehicles, infantry combat. It's an epic, persistent war. Rather than playing in a battle, like in a normal FPS game, you're really playing in an ongoing war. And that's, I think, really the cool, high-level view of what Planetside 2 is all about.
How has the creative process been with this?
It's been awesome. You know, we started talking about wanting to make Planetside 2 a long time ago, a long time ago. But it took us a long time to get our technology up to the point where we felt like we could actually fulfill on the promise of what Planetside 2 kind of needed to be. So we have an engine that we built just for next-gen MMO games called the Forge Light engine. And the Forge Light engine was built largely with Planetside 2 in mind. It has a lot of features that we felt were necessary for us to really deliver on the promise of the game. There's not a lot of MMO FPSs out there, so we felt like we really needed to elevate that genre and make that something that is as cool as we all know it can be from Planetside 1.
How do you feel you've delivered to the fans of Planetside 1 in Planetside 2?
Well, I mean, Planetside 2 is kind of a re-imaging of the original game. So it's the same kind of locations, it's the same same basic factions, and they sort of have similar traits and similar gameplay that they take advantage of. The Vonu are still using energy weapons, the New Conglomerate are still all about insurgent tactics, things like that. So in that way, it feels very familiar to somebody who's been playing the original game. If you are a new player who's never played Planetside before, it's going to still feel like a modern FPS game, though. So we've brought all those modern FPS elements that today's AAA FPS players, people playing Battlefield, people playing Modern Warfare, have come to expect and love, and we've put them into the world of Planetside.
Do you feel you took any risks?
Making an MMO FPS is probably, this is the hardest project I've ever worked on, and I've worked on multiple MMORPGs. So yeah, just inherently it's an extremely risky type of game to make. The idea of thousands of players being able to compete and thousands of players being able to compete with each other over ranges of hundreds and hundreds of meters means that you have to keep all these people tracked on the server, they have to be tracked on your client. I mean, it's really, really difficult to do. And the fact that we're building a world as large as we are with the kind of graphic style that we have is super challenging. Super, super challenging. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time.
Speaking of challenging, this next question. So, is there anything in Planetside 1 that you feel may have been broken or something the community has complained about that you fixed in this one?
Well, for sure. I mean, we definitely were able to integrate 8 years now of running the Planetside live service. All that knowledge that we've got of what things worked and what things didn't work in an MMO has been really helpful for us planning Planetside 2. Some of the things that were in Planetside 1 that are not in Planetside 2 that I'm really glad that we don't have are a lot of like restrictions on how long it takes to get someplace. We don't have the system that Planetside 1 had, which was called the lattice system, which meant that if you wanted to attack this base, you had to own this base to be able to attack it. That kind of created a lot of stagnant fights where you were fighting over the same kind of region, fighting over the same objective all the time. In Planetside 2, it's much more open-ended, so players are able to really create their own strategies for how they want to try to tackle bases, which is cool, which is really cool.
What support do you offer the community?
What support do we offer the community? That's a good question. Well, we have, in terms of data that we're going to be putting out there so people can build apps and web pages and stuff, we're releasing pretty much every single piece of data that exists about the game. So all the times that you get kills, there'll be a real-time feed of that. You'll be able to build an iPhone app or an Android app, or if you were a guild leader, you can put your guild roster there and have like a real-time update of who's online and what people are fighting, maybe even see a map and see where all the people in your guild are fighting or your outfit are fighting at any given time. So that's a really cool community feature, and I'm expecting to see a lot of really interesting apps getting built off of that. We have a lot of other community features too. Like we have a really robust outfit system that allows players to create their own ranks, all the sort of things that you would expect to see in an MMORPG's guild system. We have in an FPS outfit system, and that's a really I think from somebody coming from an FPS background, coming and playing Planetside 2, that's going to be a really unique thing, because all that kind of coordination that comes from those large guild structures really enhances the type of battle that you're having in the game.
Can you go into detail a little bit about the customization options?
Sure. We have a variety of customization options, obviously. You'll be able to completely personalize things like your weapon. I want one that hits really hard, but I'm willing to trade off how fast it fires to do that. I can customize that as a side grade. I can put on all sorts of different attachments to it to really personalize it, to not only act exactly the way I want my gun to act, but also feel and look the way that I want it to look. That's really cool. There's also character customizations, like I can change out my camo patterns, different striping. For an outfit, you can create an outfit look so that all your outfit members look the same, or look like they belong to the same group, which is really cool. Vehicles, similarly, are completely customizable. You can swap out paint patterns on them. You can swap out all sorts of different weapons. Internals, like engines, you can swap out. And all those different side grades and attachments and vehicle modules, basically, are all acquirable in-game by earning resources. So although we're a free-to-play game, we're not a pay-to-win game. So those type of things you'll be able to just go unlock by fighting and playing the game.
What's your personal favorite feature that you guys are bringing to Planetside 2?
There's a lot. There's a lot of stuff I'm really into. I think that the thing that I think is going to work the best is the territory control system. I'm really proud of the way that that's shaping up. It makes it so that the map is broken down into a series of different front lines, and they modulate as players are fighting back and forth. They move, so you're not fighting in the exact same locations anymore. It really allows us to create a more dynamic gameplay experience. If you go play Battlefield or Modern Warfare, maybe you have your favorite map or you have your favorite couple maps, but you're playing in the same area over and over again, which is cool because you get to learn all these different locations and learn where to crouch and where to camp and all that kind of stuff if that's what you want to do. But being able to have something that's fresh, so like each time you're playing through this area, it's a new thing, really creates a different feeling for an FPS game. And our maps are enormous, and the territory system really helps us organize the way that players are fighting across them, give bonuses to people for capturing certain things. So that's really cool. I like it.
How can people get into this, and when's it coming out?
Well, right now you can go sign up for beta by going to planetside2.com. If you want to keep up with the latest and greatest that's happening, we're always sending out behind-the-scenes information on the game development from my Twitter account, our senior art director's Twitter account, our Planetside 2 account. We're constantly sending out behind-the-scenes stuff of work-in-progress art, or asking questions about, like, what would you guys rather have, 5 red dot sites or whatever, and getting community polling on what kind of features we should be building. And that's been really fun. That's been really exciting. In terms of ship date, in terms of beta date, we haven't announced anything yet, and we're not planning on them for a little while still. But definitely go sign up for beta, and it'll be around sooner than you might imagine.
And I love how much you guys are bringing the community's input and everything, the apps and everything, customizing the game and all that. What is your favorite feature that you pulled from the community that you added?
From the community, well, lots of times we actually have a really passionate fan base. Planetside 1, I don't know very many people who played Planetside 1 who didn't love Planetside 1. So the people who are part of that community are really just an enduring, super passionate group of people. And they come up with all sorts of ideas, and they really check us too. So if we say we're going to do something this way, we'll get them to straight up say, like, that's not going to work, and here's the reason why it's not going to work. And a lot of times they're right, and a lot of times we'll change our plans based on that. In terms of actual features that are coming directly from the community, there's a couple, but I don't really want to talk too much about them because there's sort of things that we haven't really decided if we're actually going to go ahead and do it or not. But we've gotten great ideas. Like the Planetside Universe forums, there's an entire forum on there that's called Planetside 2 Ideas, and there's hundreds of posts on there with all sorts of different stuff. But things like, some people will design a way for you to make a forward operating base using vehicles. And they say, if you could deploy these vehicles, you can make a forward operating base. And now we do have deployable vehicles. So there's lots of back and forth happening there, and it's really cool. That's probably my favorite part of working on this game, honestly.
So it's safe to say if they want to be part of the development of this game, they could just throw their ideas right there in the forums.
Yeah, I really feel like between us sending back the work in progress kind of stuff out via Twitter and on the forums and things like that, and actually actively listening to the community, it really does feel like we have this sort of distributed game development experience where players and fans are actively participating in helping shape the way the game is going to be. And honestly, it rules, because this is a completely different experience for me as a game developer, being able to be this closely interconnected with people who are so passionate about the game that you're making. It helps you get out of bed every morning, knowing that somebody's going to be tweeting at me like, oh, hey, that screenshot was really cool, like, you guys are doing awesome. That's great. A lot of times you're just basically slaving away. I mean, not slaving away, you're making video games, so it's not like you're digging ditches, but you're spending 12, 14 hours a day at work sometimes, and sometimes that can get really tiring. But having people that are there kind of cheering you on at the same time is fantastic.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Yeah, sure.